When you build a relationship with someone, you're more, for lack of a better phrase, committed to each other and committed to delivering. What I don't like is ever to employ someone who I'm just paying them to do a job.
Good afternoon. From Swoop, it's Take The Plunge, a podcast about how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own business. We take a look at how they came to that decision and what were those first crucial steps in getting their business up and running. My name is Kieran Burke, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. And we're joined today by Eimear McManus. Eimear is the Director of Digital Work Agency at DW. They support brands on all aspects of digital marketing, from entertaining social media campaigns to corporate branding and website design. Some of the projects and clients include Five Guys in Ireland and Northern Ireland, All's Pastries, Pork Farms, our very own Swoop Funding, the JP McManus Poem, and many, many more. Eimear, a massive thank you for coming on Take the Plunge. You're very welcome for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm so delighted to be here.
How are you doing today?
Very good, thanks. How are you? How's all at Swoop?
Very good. We're very excited to roll out the podcast and excited to hear about the DW story. So I suppose
Amazing.
Digging into that for a second, I suppose would love to hear is what were you doing before deciding to set up DW, and kind of what was the light bulb moment to say, hey, kind of do this myself?
So I set up DW when I was 24. So I was actually just finished university, and how I ended up going into the industry was my background is in economics, and when I was studying economics, I studied in Limerick, and I came to London for a 6-month work placement. And in that work placement, I joined a PR agency, and the PR agency then pivoted into doing digital marketing, but mainly social media. So that was about 7 years ago, just when like social really started kicking off. And I decided to extend my stay in London for another year and a half. So I did my 3rd year of university abroad, and then I took a year out, and then I went back to finish my degree when I was 24, after going to London when I was 21. And I finished my degree. And when I finished working at that agency, I started freelancing and consulting. And it was actually my parents who pushed me. They were like, you have to do this. You have to set up a business. And I was like, I have no idea how to do this. And it's actually really funny because the reason I did this, like the actual reason, was because I was working in an agency and I absolutely loved it. But I had this idea that I wanted marketing to like look a certain way and be a certain way. And I was like, well, the quickest way to get to it is I'll just do it myself. And I had no idea, but that's how I suppose that was that light bulb moment. I was like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, and I suppose like you had the light bulb moment and you're like, I'm going to do it myself. So what were those first couple of moments? Like, how did you go, right, how do I set up this business? How do I get clients? Kind of what were your kind of first couple of steps?
So the actual first step was, it was a Wednesday. I was in
Yeah.
Ireland, and it was about 4 p.m. and I was working, and my team will hear this and they laugh at the story because they know what I'm going to say. So what happened was, I'm from Limerick, so it's about 2 hours from Dublin, and there's only an IKEA in Dublin in Ireland. And it was a late afternoon on a summer's day, I remember, and I went downstairs to my mom and I was like, that's it. I'm setting up a business. I need to go buy a big desk and set up an office. And so
Love
I went to IKEA that day. I drove up at 5:30, and my mom thought I was a complete lunatic, and I had to borrow her car because she had a way bigger boot. And I got back from IKEA at 11 o'clock, and this is no lie. I got back at about 11 o'clock that night, and I stayed up all night until 6 a.m. building this big massive desk in my room to like set up my business. Yeah, seriously. And then the next day, Becca, who actually still works with me, so we've been working together for 5 years. She's our head of design, super amazing. I called her and we came up with a name together. We had loads of names for the business, and that was the actual first step. And then a month later, I moved back to London, and I announced it on my LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I picked up a few clients like from freelancing. So I didn't really start from scratch, and I had built a bit of a network. And I think that's what helped me, like, have a great kickstart, was that I had a network behind me, and I had case studies and I had proof that I knew what I was talking about.
And once you built the desk, how did you find things like setting up a bank account, doing accounts? Was this all new to you, or it was a second nature? How did you find that aspect?
I Googled absolutely everything. I just, and you know what else I did? I used to listen to podcasts. So if I knew I was
Yeah.
going to a meeting and let's say it was like with a potential accountant or like a potential office space, it was like, right, I need to find out the ins and outs of setting up a business so I sound like I know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
my sister has been my accountant for the last 3 years and she's been like my financial advisor. And I think
Hmm.
having someone so close to me to be so honest with me as well has been an
Hmm.
amazing help.
And you mentioned Becca being there kind of from day one. How crucial were your first couple of people you brought into the business, those first couple of hires? Kind of what were the types of people you were looking for, and kind of what impact did they make for you?
So my original team, like the OGs, really are they're still here. And I think if I didn't have such an amazing core team, like between myself and Emmy and Becca and Hannah as well, who's joined, and we've a couple of other people who've just joined as well. I think they've set the foundations. And what I actually looked for, to be completely honest, was I think everything can be taught. Okay, the designers need a discipline. Hannah's a photographer, Emily is a writer, but if you have a good attitude, you can teach anything. If you can hire the
Hmm.
attitude, and a lady called Penny Blake, who I've known for a couple of years, that's exactly what she said to me. She said, hire the attitude and everything else will come. And recently we were
Lovely.
only talking about our values as a company, and we were saying the actual what I look for in someone and what we try to show to our clients, which you know from working with you in various businesses.
Hmm.
Um, we try to be kind and compassionate. That's really it. Like everything else, like the proof's in the pudding with our results, but if you just work with nice people, good things will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I suppose that was going to be my next question. You're going into an industry where, let's face it, it's pretty. There's agencies everywhere. It's you type in Google, I want a social media agency. Like, I mean, you're getting on page two, you're still probably getting ads for agencies. So, what was it that you were like, I know I can do this better, and how did you kind of differentiate yourself?
That's a really good question. What we've always done as a business is we shout about our clients. I think so often what happens is we get so caught in the day to day of like managing other businesses that we forget to do it ourselves. And previously we had forgotten, but now. Oh, as well, I think year one, I wasn't as confident and I was almost too shy. And I think that went
Hmm.
down to like my age, also maybe being a young woman in business. Whereas,
Hmm.
we're 2.5 years in now, and I think the confidence factor has changed so much. And I am so sure in what we do, and I'm so confident in my delivery. I think from day one we used to sort of shout about it, but now we absolutely scream from the rooftops because
Hmm.
we're confident.
No, no, absolutely. I suppose one of the other aspects I was asking is in those early first couple of years, you're experimenting all the time. So some experiments come off gloriously, some go spectacularly wrong. What were was there any kind of couple of moments for you guys where you're like that went particularly well or poorly that you reflect back and you look back on?
Yeah, I think early on what I tried to do as well was like meet as many people as possible. So like get featured on podcasts, do public speaking, all of that. Like I was like, I know I need to be present to actually like start getting some interest in this business, especially when it was just me at the start. Two things that stand out to me that I think I've had the biggest learnings from, and one was in our first year we committed to someone saying we could build a website and we put our trust into a developer, and unfortunately they just didn't have the skill set for what the brand required, and that all
Hmm.
fell back on me. And I remember I actually, me and Becca were both crying on the phone because we were like, this is it now, this is the end. And it wasn't, and it really really wasn't. And like, do you know as well, I think when you're so young and when you're so early in business, you actually think your mistake is the end of the world, but it's not,
Yeah,
because people have
yeah,
so many other things going on that they actually forget about it tomorrow. Like
yeah.
they really do. But that mistake did cost me money, and it cost me our didn't. Would you believe it did not cost our relationship with the brand because we still do all of their marketing. But it
That's great.
was, yeah. But again, that goes down to the relationship, and they just put trust in us. But we made the mistake thinking we could do it.
Yeah, but I think that's probably commonplace of a lot of young startups. If tech scars were tattoos, I think I'd be covered top to bottom with them. But in terms of, I suppose you had that first incident with working with technology, outsourcing, development. What did you learn from that? What would you go into a new relationship when you're working with developers? What did you gain from that mistake, I suppose?
Um, I actually gained a couple of things. One was absolutely check everybody's credentials. We've got quite a few agency partners now, so that we can just focus on what we're good at, and then we just pass on, like to our partners. For example, if it was Google Ads or something,
Yeah,
we've got an agency who does that for us. And I think building, if you're going to outsource to like a freelancer or a developer, you need to build a relationship with them first, because when you build a relationship with someone, you're more, for lack of a better phrase, committed to each other and committed to delivering. What I don't like is ever to employ someone who I'm just paying them to do a job. No,
yeah,
I want to know that we have the same goals for whatever business that we're working on together. And I think just really checking someone's credentials is so important, because somebody can sell you the dream and then not deliver it.
absolutely. That's really interesting what you say in terms of building those kind of core relationships so that you can run your model more effectively. So from an agency landscape, do you see those couple of outsourcing relationships like you mentioned with that AdWords agency, are they crucial as you try and grow as a business to get those foundations right, because it allows you to do more?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do white label for other agencies as well. But what I find has actually been most effective for us is that with clients, we'll start off and do a client's marketing, and then they will say to us, "Can you do, for example, our Google Ads?" And I would say, "No, but we do know someone who is amazing at that." And once you
Yeah.
give them that recommendation, you're instilling that trust, and you're also not trying to be greedy and take all of the pie, because it happens so often in the agency world, and that's something we just do not do.
And as you've kind of grown as an agency and you've kind of matured, have you guys found more of an identity? And then has that identity allowed you to kind of set out a strategy to say, I want to do exactly this and I want to grow in that area?
Yeah, but you know what? That took a really, really long time, because I think when I set up the business, I didn't really know where it was going to go. Like I didn't. I just rocked up to London and I was like, okay, I'm renting a desk. Here we go. And that is the honest truth. And it's actually only like 2.5 years in that, like, Emily now, who's our marketing manager, has set out a strategy for the next 18 months, like, of our growth. And we've definitely found an identity for ourselves. Like we know the sectors that we thrive on, but what we have done as a business is we haven't actually focused on an individual sector, and we get asked this a lot. And the reason is because you can bring in different principles from different sectors, like across the board. So I was speaking to one of my friends earlier about Swoop, because he's looking to set up an app, and I was telling him all about how, like, he could raise finance, but I was like, he needs to do the pitch deck first. And I said to him, I was like, we're so lucky at DW that we are specialized now across so many sectors that you can give anybody advice or you can make
Hmm.
recommendations across the board. But going back to the identity piece, I think we're still figuring out, like, where we want to go in terms of, like, maybe doubling down or like really specializing. But I think the identity for us is that with clients who work with us know that we're super approachable, that we really care. Like you know this. Like, I've worked with you on 2 or 3 businesses, and I think the team, like the ethos in our team, and like what I know DW is known for, is that they all actually just care about what they
Yep.
do. And I've also invested so much in the team over the last couple of years. Like, they've done courses, like project management courses, like everything that you can imagine. So, like, in the first 2 years, I focused all the profit on just investing it back in the team. And, like, I have
Hmm.
absolutely no problem spending money where I know maybe in 12 or 18 months time it's going to bring me back value.
Yeah, that's really interesting because my next question was going to be around you might have lots of people who start to develop a specialism and want to set out a consultancy or an agency model, and with that you get the highs and lows of winning clients, going to pitches, and it can be unbelievably rewarding. But from a planning perspective, it can be challenging. So how do you, as a business owner, deal with that from a planning perspective, cash management? Is it stressful? Is it something you got better at with over time?
It's super stressful. It really, really is. You know what, though? Again, going back to having someone on your accounts who you really trust,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the thing I did really bad at the start of the business was not keeping an eye on numbers. And from Swoop, I actually did learn that numbers are so important. Even if you're failing on paper, at least you know that you can get out of this. Like
Yeah.
sometimes people get so caught up. Well, I found anyway, I used to just get so caught up in the delivery that like I'd be
Hmm.
forgetting like to chase up invoices or this or that. So it is really stressful, but I've also learned after COVID, it's not the end of the world. Like,
Yeah.
no one's going to jail. No one is unwell, and everything can be sorted. And like we've had such highs and lows. Like you see me, and I'm sure it's the same with you guys. Like the highs are so high, but then people don't see the lows and they just see
Yeah.
the like you're happy go lucky, and I am 99.9% of the time. But then then there's an odd blip in the road. But like that's
Yeah.
stressful. But again, my relationship with my team is that everyone is so honest, and like when it comes to
Hmm.
planning, for example, we've onboarded 3 new clients this week, and we would
Oh,
normally
what a
never do
week.
that. It's been a good week.
There's a Friday feeling, I imagine, in you
Oh,
today.
absolutely. It was a Thursday feeling yesterday as well. um, no, and you know what? We haven't on normally what we try to do with clients coming on board to manage everybody's time and to manage our freelancers as well. We try to take on a brand. If we have 2 brands in a month, we'll do one every 2 weeks. It's the best way to
Hmm.
do it. However, our processes now, like we've really nailed them. And one of the most important tools I think for our agency is Asana. We track
Yeah.
every single project, every single deliverable. We track every single timeline, and we really only since March, like since COVID kicked in, when we started working remotely, did we really start using that tool, and that has
Yeah.
absolutely changed the game for me. It's more cost effective. I manage everything through it. Like it's
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm always fascinated with business owners and the tools that they use. I remember before you mentioned to me Pandal as accounting software was something that you swore by. Is there any other tools that you use that you feel have been kind of instrumental at different parts of your growth stage?
We use Slack. We use Slack to contact
Yeah.
everyone as well. You know what? In terms of the business as well, what I do for the team every week is we listen to like a load of marketing podcasts, and I listen to
Hmm.
podcasts all the time anyway. And I'll set at least one podcast a week that the team have to listen to if it's about like an updated marketing trend or a new social media feature. So on a Monday, I'm like, okay, guys, heard this amazing podcast. Please, everybody, listen to it. We can talk about it on Wednesday or Thursday. And having little catch ups like that. And what we also do to make sure anybody new that comes in, or even the current team, if we onboard a client, so we do a quiz about the brand. So like what we
Oh,
do is
love a
like if
quiz.
we have love a quiz. We for example we've just onboarded a dog brand. Okay,
Yeah.
now we need to know every single thing about the dog industry. So what we'll do, we've only just onboarded them. So mid-December, we're going to have like our DW quiz. And what we do is I'll do a quiz, a pop quiz, basically on every single piece of knowledge. And we do this for all the brands. And like even when somebody new comes in, we're like, so who does so and so work for? And people get so confused. But honestly, it's been the best way to engage the team, make sure everybody knows
Nice.
who everyone is, and it's a bit of a laugh as well. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think that's a process, but like I would say, obviously Zoom has been a lifesaver for us. I
Yeah.
just Asana,
Yeah.
Asana for project management has changed the game,
Awesome.
and also
Yeah.
General Assembly. If you have an
Oh,
agency,
really?
get your
Okay.
team onto the workshops on General Assembly. They are absolutely amazing. The girls have done a couple of them, and they've been brilliant.
That's great. Really, really interesting. And was there particular content that they went for, or that was particularly effective on General Assembly, or any particular course that they found good?
Yeah, I was talking to Hannah about this morning actually, because she's going to do a diploma with them next year as well. So, Hannah is our content creator, so like she does like photography and videography, but she's an
Hmm.
amazing designer, and she wants to go
Yeah.
down the UX route. So a couple of weeks ago, she did a boot camp over a weekend on General Assembly, all on UX design, and then she
Amazing.
actually redesigned our whole new company website. And like off the back of that, seeing what she learned over a couple of days, it's a no-brainer for me now to invest in that in the new year because it's awesome. So yeah, like in terms of the agency space, just upskilling your team for a couple of £100 is so valuable.
So I suppose kind of reflecting them back, everything's happened probably rapid, fast for you in terms of setting up the business. You've gone through and grown, added new people, added new clients. Has there been different moments along the way that's helped you shape that, kickstart that? What kind of stands out for you?
I don't want to flatter you too much, but as you know, so for anybody listening to this, myself and Karan met about four years ago now, just when maybe 3 years when I just after
Yeah,
I'd set up the
probably
business.
four. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. And I worked with him on a different project, and then he actually, when himself and Andrea set up Swoop, they brought me under their wing even before it had a name. I remember
Oh,
we
jeez,
we
the
set up all the
panic.
social media accounts and everything. Yeah, yeah, but you know what? We had such a laugh along the way, and I think meeting you was such a defining moment. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on this podcast, because what happened, the after effect of that, all the people you introduced me to really changed the way that like the business was shaped. And I've said this to you before, like, and I would be forever grateful to you for that. And this is why I absolutely fly the flag for Swoop as well, because the amount of the amount of businesses that you
This
guys
is
have
turning
helped.
into this is turning into propaganda.
Oh no, it's not. No, no, no. And you know what, as well? I actually asked my team about this. I was like, what are some of the defining moments? And I think another, like a moment that really shaped, I think, where this business could go. There was two where I was brought to Croatia to give a talk to a couple of hundred business owners, and
Hmm.
that then allowed me to sort of position myself as, okay, I am an expert in this field. But again, I was so young. I was 25, and I didn't have the confidence. I'm from Ireland. Like, nobody knows me. I'm a woman. That was also the confidence piece. So I think when I went to Croatia, that gave me the confidence, and it really was like anything that built my confidence personally. And then when me and the team, I think as well, you mentioned Five Guys at the start. Like, when we won Five Guys, that was a moment where we were like, okay, we know what we're doing. Like, if a company
Yeah,
like that, and then,
yeah.
and I think one of our a campaign then that would, like, I think define like how passionate we are about something is last year we were basically given, I had a phone call, and there was supposed to be like a march taking place 7 days after I got this phone call, and they were like, but there's no brand awareness. It was going to be a protest against a factory burning fossil fuels, of course, pre-COVID. And me and the girls, we stayed in the office. We practically moved into the office for 7 days just to get this campaign done. Like, I mean, like, weekend work, everything, stayed till midnight. And we ended up getting 4,500 people to march the streets off the back of a social media campaign. Like, it
Amazing.
was so that type of case study. So there's always going to probably be one that you can say, no, we've done this. And that was also a
Yeah.
defining moment. But I think the biggest thing is the mistakes were
Oh
probably the
yeah. Go
things,
on.
like the I just think I still get the fear over that website. Like, I have nightmares about it. And even though, like, we design websites now for people, like we do all
Yeah.
of that now, but just when you're so premature. And I'm trying to think of one or two other funny ones, but probably not appropriate for the Swoop
No,
podcast.
no, please. I suppose then that was looking back, but looking forward, you guys have obviously gone massively strength to strength recently. Um, what is it now that you're onboarding more clients, you're doing bigger things? Like, how do you set your goals for the next level? Where do you want to take DW next?
We want to, our big goal is actually to grow more in Ireland. So, like, the
Hmm.
goal is always to come over, set up a business in the UK, work with amazing UK brands, and then it was what place more of a focus on the Irish market. However, only in the last month we've got a couple of new partnerships, and now we're kind of rethinking our business strategy for the next 12 months because of, like, new partnerships that we've developed. So for us,
Hmm.
it's constantly changing. Like, it
Yeah.
really, really is. But something we are doing, and which I'm so excited about, is the girls, like the team, are such creators, and we want to now, like, for example, Emily, our marketing manager, her little sister is just out of uni, and unfortunately, like, the job market isn't great at the moment. So she's actually
Hmm.
started working for us, and now she's going back to do a master's. And what I learned from the last couple of months is that young people need an opportunity. So what we're doing is we're going to set up a creators hub where young people will have access to us in, like, it's going to be in a private Facebook group. And what we are going to
Hmm.
do is share all of the successful content that we've done, or like campaigns or ideas, just to give them a head start, because nobody has that. Like,
That's
I had an
amazing.
amazing head start, and I'm so excited about that, because I just think people coming out of university now is going to be so tough. And so we're going to have like a DW creators hub where like they have access to us, and like we'll be like, okay guys, we did this for 5 guys, it worked really well, or we did this for us, absolute disaster, so on and so. So I'm really,
That's
so that's
amazing.
like, that's the 2021 plan. We'll be launching that in January, so I'm so excited for that.
Very excited to see that myself. You mentioned partnerships there. How big a role do partnerships play in early stage business?
Massive, absolutely massive. I think something that, in early stage, you can't do everything yourself, and you don't know everything. And like at the end of the day, for a lot of people, like, your network is your net worth. And if you're not willing to like open your door to other businesses, or work together in project, or even just collaborate, I think businesses will get stuck. There has to be, like in terms of growth for a business, I can't see it being one route. You just can't create amazing content and expect people to come to you. You need third party endorsement. Like
Hmm.
you can tell everybody how great you are, but until anyone else says it, you're it's pointless.
Nice. Eimear, I cannot thank you enough for coming on, sharing all the experiences, the good things, the things that you probably have learned from mistakes you've made. It's invaluable for anyone listening, particularly anyone who wants to go into that agency landscape. I think you've talked at it eloquently at length, but it really comes through your passion and how much you care, and I think that's a big differentiator for how you run your business, and why you've probably been so successful over the last couple of years. So hopefully anyone listening will definitely pick up on that. But just a massive thank you from us for coming on and talking to us today, and giving us a bit of the DW story.
Thanks a million for having me, and can't wait to hear the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks so much, Eamon.